Not far away, inside the Zuyu Tower, Xiaohan watched it all with cold eyes. Commoners are always so short-sighted. Trash that the Zhao family threw away, and these peasants are treating it like some sacred treasure. Pathetic. But thinking about his ex-fiancée, about to get cozy with another man, a wave of irritation hit him out of nowhere. What a buzzkill. Watching a bunch of clowns put on a show is an insult to my eyes. With that, he turned and walked away. Meanwhile, at the Lin family gate, the wedding sedan had just touched down. The matchmaker called out. Lin Qingyue took a deep breath under her veil. She reached out a trembling hand. When the red ribbon was caught by someone on the other end, she felt a steady grounding strength. That evening, after the ceremony, she was escorted to the bridal chamber. Lin Qingyue's red veil was gently lifted, but as she slowly raised her eyes, she froze. Staring back at her was a strikingly handsome face. Honestly, he could hold his own against any elite disciple she'd ever seen. He smiled at her, warm and easy. My lady. His voice was smooth and gentle. Something in Lin Qingyue's chest quietly loosened. At least he's not hard to look at. But the real surprise was still coming. That night, Lin Qingyue sat stiffly at the edge of the bed, her cheeks flushing at the thought of what came next. After all, she was still a proper young lady. But for some reason, I didn't pounce on her like some animal. Instead, I walked to the table and brought back a bowl of herbal soup. This is a Guyuan tonic I had specially prepared. You're still recovering from your injuries. Your body's weak. Drink it while it's hot. Lin Qingyue looked up stunned. She met a pair of eyes filled with genuine concern. Her voice trembled slightly. You're not gonna consummate? I set down the bowl. We've got all the time in the world. I know you're hurting inside, and your body isn't fully healed. Focus on getting better first. The rest can wait. With that, I smiled and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. In my past life, I was a total playboy. I ran through women like nothing. I knew every trick in the book. Sure, you could score a good time, but only sincerity earns you sincerity back. And sure enough, that one gesture hit like a wave of warmth and melted the last wall around Lin Qingyue's heart. From the moment she got hurt, everyone had been calculating her worth, sneering at her broken body. He was the only one who actually cared about her, who looked out for her. Right as I was about to turn and leave, a pale, delicate hand suddenly grabbed me. Husband, it's a little cold tonight. Don't go. The curtains fell. The room went warm. The next morning, I was holding onto the wall, legs barely working as I stumbled out of the bedroom. I had seriously underestimated a cultivator's physique. Even with her cultivation crippled, she was still leagues above any ordinary person. But thinking back on last night, I snapped right back to it. I glanced back at the closed door and clenched my fist. A little pain never hurt anyone. For the sake of immortality, a little back pain is nothing. After more than a month of effort, Lin Qingyue was finally pregnant. At the same time, on the bloodline fruit tree in my mind, a red bloodline fruit was slowly taking shape. I was thrilled. The day Lin Qingyue gave birth would be the day I harvested the fruit. But for some reason, as the belly grew bigger, the baby needed more and more nutrients. It was even draining Lin Qingyue, a former cultivator. I was running around in a panic, completely clueless about what was wrong. But Lin Qingyue just looked up calmly. Husband, this is a sign the child has a spirit root. In our clan, whenever a child with a spirit root is born, the mother suffers as the spiritual energy feeds back into the child. But this is also the greatest of blessings. Hearing that, my heart went from panic to pure joy. A spirit root doesn't just mean he can walk the path of cultivation, it means the quality of the bloodline fruit will be beyond imagination. In the days that followed, I spared no expense hunting down spirit herbs and rare medicines, and took care of Lin Qingyue like she was everything. She watched me rushing around for her, eyes full of tenderness. Even though I was just a regular man now, she'd never felt more happy. Days passed. Lin Qingyue was almost due, and then a massive storm was quietly rolling in. Inside the Xiao estate, Xiaohan was listening to a report from his right-hand man, his expression dark as a thundercloud. You're saying Chen Changsheng has been stockpiling rare medicines? Just to stabilize that worthless woman's pregnancy? Yes, young master. And Lin Qingyue should be giving birth any day now. Xiaohan crushed the jade cup in his hand to dust. Ever since the engagement was broken off, he figured Lin Qingyue would spend her days in misery. Instead, some guy had swept her away like a prize. But what really got under his skin was that Lin Qingyue might actually be carrying a spirit root child. If she actually gave birth to a kid with a spirit root, it'd be like screaming to the whole world that Xiaohan had no eyes to see. And that Chen Changsheng was the real winner who saw what he missed. Some nobody who picked up my cast-offs. Getting to step on my name to climb up? No way. Make it clean. Kill them all. Anyone who crosses me, Xiaohan, only gets one outcome. Death. That night, muffled groans of pain drifted out from the delivery room. I paced the courtyard anxiously. Even having lived 2 lives, welcoming a new life into the world still had me on edge. Right then, a dark figure slipped into the backyard like a ghost. A few guards were about to call out when a flash of cold light cut through the dark. They didn't even get a scream out. They just dropped into a pool of blood. Who's there? My heart was pounding as I was about to yell for help. A wave of icy killing intent locked onto me instantly. That was a cultivator's pressure. My whole body felt like it had been plunged into ice. Before I could even react, a surge of spiritual energy clamped around my throat. Suffocation hit my brain like a freight train. A figure in black slowly stepped toward me, eyes full of bloodlust, like he was looking at a lamb about to be slaughtered. The Lin family. I forced out 2 words with everything I had. The Lin family was making money off me. They had no reason to kill the golden goose. Kid, in your next life, keep your eyes open. Blame yourself for marrying a woman you shouldn't have. You embarrassed young Master Xiao. Xiaohan, it's him. Rage flooded through me. All right, time to send you on your way. Your wife and kid will be right behind you. The man in black tightened his grip, about to crush my windpipe. Right at that razor's edge, a piercing cry of a newborn suddenly rang out from the delivery room. The man in black flinched for just a second, instinctively glancing toward the delivery room. At that exact moment, deep in my mind, that red fruit that had been ripening for so long finally matured. I didn't hesitate. I devoured it. The next second, a massive torrent of energy exploded through every inch of my body. In an instant, some kind of shackle inside me shattered. That torrent blasted through my meridians, burning through old blockages and blowing them apart. Spiritual energy from heaven and earth came surging toward me, condensing into pure power at my core. In the blink of an eye, I went from a regular guy all the way to peak chi refining. The man in black finally sensed something was off. This pathetic little ant in front of him had just unleashed an aura that made him tremble. You! He was horrified. He started to fall back. But the very next second, my eyes blazed with golden light. The hands that had been pinned down shot out. I grabbed the man in black by the wrist. Then came a sharp crack. The sound of bones shattering. Before he could even react, I was already on top of him. One punch straight to the chest. That punch carried every last drop of power from peak chi refining, plus every ounce of rage I had built up. His chest caved in instantly. His heart turned to mush. He flew back and dropped dead on the spot. I stood there catching my breath, feeling the power surging inside me. The killing intent in my eyes hadn't faded, but I knew this wasn't the time to lose it. I moved fast, searched the body, grabbed his storage pouch. Then I burned the corpse to ash. Not a single trace left behind. Once that was done, I steadied my breathing and let the killing energy settle. Then I pushed open the delivery room door. "He's here, sir, it's a boy!" The midwife held the baby, beaming from ear to ear. I rushed in. First I looked at Lin Qingyue, pale and exhausted, and squeezed her hand gently. Then I turned to look at the baby in the swaddle. A perfect little boy, soft as jade. The face was all me. When my fingers touched the baby's skin, sure enough, I felt a pulse of wood and fire spiritual energy. "He has a spirit root, husband." "Qingyue, it's a boy." I kept my voice low, barely holding back the excitement. "And just like you, he has a spirit root." "Amazing. Our son can walk the path of cultivation. He won't have to live like a commoner getting pushed around." She was lost in the joy of it all, completely unaware of what had just gone down in the courtyard. I gently patted her hand and spoke softly to comfort her, but inside my heart was heavy. Xiaohan had made his move. This was a blood feud now. His man failed and never came back. Xiaohan was going to get suspicious. He'd probably send someone even stronger next time, even with peak chi refining on my side. The Xiao family was on a completely different level. If I showed my hand now, it'd only bring foundation building cultivators, or worse, down on me. I needed to think this through. I frowned, staring out the window. And pretty quickly, a solid plan came to mind. Not long after, I spent serious money on a courtyard, right next to the Lin estate. This was a smart move. The whole idea? Borrow someone else's power. As long as I had my wife and kid living right under the Lin family's nose, the outside world would assume the Lin family had taken us under their wing. And in Qingyan City, nobody's bold enough to kill someone on the Lin family's doorstep. Sure enough, Xiao Hun saw that his men never came back, then heard I had moved right next to the Lin estate overnight. His face turned to stone. He connected the dots the obvious way. The Lin family must have secretly stepped in and saved us, and cleaned up his people in the process. As for the assassination being exposed, he wasn't really worried. After all, the Xiao family had a nascent soul patriarch about to come out of seclusion. Without hard evidence, the Lin family wouldn't dare make a move on the Xiaos. For now, Xiao Han had no choice but to swallow his rage. He filed it away and told himself he'd get revenge when the time was right. I had bought myself some breathing room. Little did I know, I was walking straight into another trap. In the days that followed, I used the profits from the Chen family's gem business, and publicly said I wanted to get stronger physically, buying up martial arts techniques. In reality, I was quietly collecting cultivation manuals to level up. During that time, a piece of news blew up the cultivation world in Qingyan City. 300 miles outside the city, in the Black Wind Mountains, an ancient secret realm was about to appear. Word was the place was full of spirit herbs. It even supposedly contained foundation building pills that drove chi refiners absolutely crazy. Every lone cultivator and clan disciple in the city lost their minds. Everyone was grouping up and heading out, but I couldn't care less. Compared to that kind of blood-soaked grind, nothing beats staying home, holding your wife and having kids, building up strength the safe and steady way. At the same time, I knew I absolutely could not let my cultivation slip out. A regular guy suddenly showing up with power would bring a world of trouble. But I also couldn't keep hiding it forever. I needed a perfect cover story. So one day I quietly slipped into the deep mountains, and came home half a month later battered and bruised. I told everyone I'd slipped off a cliff while out walking, and barely made it back alive. After all that setup, I finally breathed easy. If my cultivation comes out later, it should be fine now. But thinking about Xiao Han's threat, my expression darkened again. That guy took a big L. He's not gonna let it go. The moment he figured out I wasn't actually backed by the Lin family, he'd come at me hard. I had to get stronger fast, otherwise I'd just be someone else's punching bag. So after resting for half a year, once Lin Qingyu had more or less recovered, I got back to the grind. And since I'd broken through to peak chi refining, my body had hit a whole new level. No more aching back. Honestly, I was handling it with ease. Lin Qingyu was often the one struggling to keep up. Right until one morning, she stared at my extremely energetic self with a weird look on her face. Like she wanted to say something but held back. "Husband, those supplements might help in the moment, but they're bad for your body long term. You really should ease up." I laughed it off. I told her I'd just been training hard lately. Built up some natural strength. Not taking anything. But as time went on, my smile started to fade. After grinding for most of the year, Lin Qinyu's belly still hadn't moved. Strange. I checked the Bloodline ancient tree in my mind. Looking at the branches was still completely empty. A creeping doubt took hold. Was there some kind of limit on this tree? Could each woman only grow one fruit? Was this thing basically forcing me to marry different women? That thought put me in a real bind. Regular women couldn't produce spirit root offspring, but your average female cultivator wouldn't give me a second look. So where was I supposed to find crippled immortal maidens? Just as I was completely stuck, a wild idea suddenly flashed through my head. Not long after, I quietly made my way to that ancient secret realm. But I wasn't there to loot the place. I was there to pick up the scraps. See if I could find some heavily injured immortal maiden who'd stumbled out. But I was disappointed. I crouched in the bushes for a solid half month. Everyone coming out of the realm was either a massive clan group or just a bunch of rough grizzled dudes. What made it even worse? Ambushers had already packed themselves outside the exit, waiting to rob whoever came through. I even watched with my own eyes, as a solo cultivator barely poked their head out, and got shot down by a rain of arrows. Their storage pouch cleaned out on the spot. This cultivation world really is a dark forest. I shook my head. But I wasn't rattled. Most of those ambushers were mid-level chi refiners, not strong enough to force their way in, just picking up scraps. Zero threat to me. I staked out for another half month. Still nothing. Just as I was about to pack it up and head home, a stumbling figure suddenly burst into my line of sight. A woman, looked to be in her early 30s, stunning. One hand clutching her chest, staggering, barely making it out of the realm. She looked rough, but still carried herself with that effortless charm only a mature woman has. But the moment she showed up, a pack of men burst out from the surrounding trees and closed in around her. Where do you think you're running off to, sweetheart? We've been waiting here a long time. Liu Hanyan's face fell in despair. She was just a lone cultivator. No connections, no backing. She'd grinded all the way up to the 8th layer of chi refining. Figured she'd try her luck in the secret realm. Didn't get squat and got ambushed on top of it. Her cultivation completely wiped out. And now she'd run right into this pack of thugs. Was this really how she was going to die today? She gripped her broken sword tight. A flash of resolve crossed her eyes. I was hiding in the shadows at that point, and the moment I laid eyes on the gorgeous Liu Hanyan, I lit up. Finally, a damsel in distress. Other people might be after your valuables, but not me, Chen Changsheng. Watching those guys about to make a move, I held my breath. Quietly activated my technique, suppressing every trace of my spiritual energy to nothing. Then I deliberately snapped a dry branch underfoot. Who's there? The men snapped to attention instantly. Everyone turned. When they saw me standing there, looking completely terrified, the tension in the group dropped immediately. Just some regular guy wandering through. Out here in the middle of nowhere. Tough luck, pal. You just saw something you weren't supposed to see. So you're not walking out of here. The moment those words left his mouth, a streak of cold light cut through the air. It froze straight through his chest. The fear on my face was gone. I calmly pulled back the hand that had cast the technique. The leader went wide-eyed. Only in his final seconds did he realize I was no ordinary man. The other three exploded. What the? Playing dumb this whole time? This guy's sneaky as hell. Get him, all of you! In their minds, I had only gotten the drop on their guy by sneaking. My real power had to be low. All three went full power. Artifacts blazing. Trying to blow me to pieces. I scoffed. Peak chi refining. Full throttle. I moved like lightning. A single punch. The raw power shredded their attacks clean. A few screams later, it was over. 3 corpses on the ground. Their eyes full of frustration and disbelief. If you're already a peak chi refining master, you could walk through that secret realm like you owned it. Why are you out here crouching in the bushes with us? This dude is something else. Honestly, even I was a little surprised. Didn't realize I'd gotten this strong. If I'd known, I wouldn't have bothered with all that sneaky setup. Liu Hanyan, standing nearby, was completely floored. Her hand, still holding the broken sword, froze in midair. She looked at the bodies, then at me, not a scratch on me. Her despair turned into something even deeper. Fear. A peak chi refining cultivator was scarier than all those thugs combined. Was he going to rob her too? With that thought, Liu Hanyan let out a hollow laugh and raised the sword to end it. She was about to run herself through with the sword when I suddenly flashed her the warmest smile. Hey, don't be scared. I'm not one of those guys who preys on people when they're down. I'm not after your stuff. But in my head, I quietly added, I'm after your spiritual root. Liu Hanyan heard that, and something inside her just loosened up. Only then did she actually get a good look at my face. Sharp brows, bright eyes, the whole righteous hero look. Yeah, definitely not a bad guy. After everything she'd been through, her already drained body just couldn't hold on anymore. Everything went dark, and she crumpled softly to the ground. My bad. I smiled and got to work, quick and clean. Swept every storage bag off those bandits. Not a single thing left. Then I picked up the unconscious Liu Hanyan and vanished into the forest. Guess it's time to add another seat at the table. Back home, I took care of everything, and slowly, Liu Hanyan started to recover. But her cultivation was completely gone. She was just a normal person now. For someone as proud as a cultivator, that's honestly worse than dying. She'd just sit and stare out the window all day, totally empty. I knew I had to treat the root of the problem. Time to turn on the perfect boyfriend mode. Best food, best clothes, and I stayed by her side every day just to keep her company. Looking at my face, sincere and, let's be honest, pretty handsome, she finally let her guard down. She was a lone cultivator with no family, no connections, and now no power. The only person she could lean on was me. Maybe it was because they'd both been through the ringer. Lin Qing Yue and Liu Hanyan quickly became like sisters. The back courtyard was surprisingly peaceful. After that, I shifted my focus to Liu Hanyan, and in less than a month, it happened. Liu Hanyan was pregnant. The moment the doctor confirmed it, I let out a breath of relief, and it also confirmed what I'd suspected. The bloodline tree has a limitation. One woman can only bear one of my descendants. If I want more fruit, I've got to cast a wider net. Thinking about that, I couldn't help but glance north. Word was a small sect up there had just been wiped out by the dark path. A lot of female cultivators had fled. Looks like I'll need to go rescue some more damsels in distress. I straightened my collar and smiled. Just like that, over a year went by. Now, the hottest topic among the citizens of Qingyun City wasn't some young genius breaking through to foundation stage. It was the ridiculously wealthy owner of the Quiken Pavilion. Some people called me a living saint, said I was out here taking in desperate female cultivators with nowhere to go. Others just laughed and said I was obsessed with women, turned the whole estate into a harem. I honestly didn't care, just lying back in my rocking chair in the garden, enjoying the view. First wife Lin Qing Yue was in the pavilion going over the account books. My eldest, Chen An, was chasing a big yellow dog through the flower beds. Second wife Liu Hanyan was cradling the baby, trying to get him to sleep. The little guy had a spiritual root too, and right beside me stood a cold, stunning woman with a very round belly. Her name was Luo Yuheng. A year ago, her sect was destroyed, and she fought through it all just to get her people out. But it shattered her meridians. She ended up on the slave market. Cultivators saw her as damaged goods. Wealthy civilians were too scared to get involved. Only I walked up with a smile and raised my paddle, bought her for 500 spirit stones, didn't treat her like a slave, gave her a proper name and status. Brought in the best doctors to heal her wounds and preserve the last bit of dignity she had as a cultivator. Now she's my devoted third wife. Then suddenly Luo Yuheng's brow furrowed. She pressed both hands over her very swollen belly. A flash of pain crossed her cool face. I shot up from the rocking chair instantly. Grabbed her. Luo Yuheng clenched her teeth and nodded. Get the midwife, heat the water, I hollered like I'd done it 100 times. The servant scrambled into action. At this point, delivering babies at the Chen estate had become more routine than running the business. Half an hour later, a sharp, clear cry cut through the silence of the back courtyard. Standing outside the birthing room, I exhaled, and at that exact same moment, something deep in my mind gave a little tremor. 2 fruit, red as blood, hung heavy from the branches of the bloodline tree. One from my second son, one from the third who'd just been born. Activate both at once, and I could smash right through the bottleneck. From late-stage QE refinement straight to mid-stage foundation building. But weirdly enough, I held back. A power spike that massive, there's no hiding it. A regular guy becoming a foundation stage master overnight? If anyone found out, there's no explaining that. I decided, don't touch these unless it's a true crisis. These are my biggest trump card, but I never imagined the crisis I'd been dreading would come this fast, or be this brutal. A few days later, people showed up from the Lin clan. Somehow, they'd found out that my firstborn had a spiritual root. Clan head Lin Zhen led the group himself, wanted to take the kid back for special training. That part I'd expected. What I hadn't expected, though. The second Lin Zhen stepped into the courtyard. He noticed both of my other kids had spiritual roots, too. His breathing got heavy. His eyes lit up like a furnace. One kid with a spiritual root, maybe a coincidence, but 3 in a row. 3 kids from different mothers, that's no accident. The common factor has to be the father. That thought hit him, and Lin Zhen stormed over and grabbed my wrist without a word. A wave of spiritual energy forced its way in. My stomach dropped. Too late to hide it. Key refinement stage. You actually have cultivation? I knew I couldn't talk my way out of this, so I pulled out the cover story I'd already prepared. Said I fell off a cliff years ago and stumbled into something extraordinary. Came back and discovered I had power. As for why all the kids have spiritual roots, honestly, I have no idea either. I thought that might work, but Lin Zhen just squinted and started slowly sizing me up. 3 kids with spiritual roots. A wild plan was forming in his head. I felt that look, the kind that means nothing good, and my heart slowly sank. I was desperately trying to think of an excuse to bail when Lin Zhen dropped a very loaded line. Son-in-law starting today. Why don't you move the whole family into the Lin estate? I squeezed my fist. He wants to lock me up. Lin Zhen is only at early stage foundation building. If I unleash mid to late foundation power, I might just be able to fight my way out. I was about to activate the fruit when an absolutely crushing pressure slammed down from above.